So today's daf is the second half of Peches Amud Aleph, which is the Mishnah. And the Mishnah tells us about the measures for fluids and the various sizes and what they were used for. Revius, so we have number one, a revius, which is a fluid measure that's equal to 1/4 of a lug, because there are 4 lugim that make up a revius. Ma hoisa mishameshes, what was its purpose? And it had a twofold purpose. Number one, for revius mayim limitzora, so we needed 1/4 of a lug, which is the equivalent, as we said, of a revius, and that was part of the process of taras hamitzora. Then we had a revius shemen lenazir. When a nazir is mesayim his nazirus, then he brings an entire slew of karbanos, and amongst them he needs to bring a revius shemen. And we're going to discuss whether or not, the revius shemen is for all the lachmei nazir. There were 20 lechamim, or do we say that each lechem would require its own chatzi log of shemen? And this is all based on halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And then, after speaking about a revius log, the Mishnah continues with a chatzi log, which was another measure for liquids. Maya Mishamish, what was its purpose? And once again, we have a twofold purpose. Number one, chatzi log mayim lesota. When they made this concoction for the sota, they had to use a chatzi log of mayim, which is mayim chayim. That's also based on halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And a chatzi log shemen litoda. Now, we said that the toda has to be accompanied by 40 lechamim, of which 30 were made of matzah and 10 were made of chametz. And this chatzi log of shemen that was used to prepare the lechamim, called lachmei toda, would it be chatzi log for every single lechem or chatzi log for all of them? We're going to have to address that. Then we get to the third category of a midah for liquids, belog, that would measure an entire log. So we measured already a revius halog, and then we measured a chatzi log. Now we're measuring out a full log, and that's for menachos, all the menachos. Now, once again, we have to know what is the ratio between the oil and the solas and the flour, because every mincha required an isaron's worth of flour. So would we say that the ratio is going to be a log shemen for every isaron of flour? What happens if a person takes an idava to bring multiple isronos? And here the Mishnah records a machlokus between the Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. According to the Tanakama, filu mincha shel shishim isaron, even if a person accepts upon himself voluntarily a pledge to bring a gigantic mincha made of 60 isaron of soles, nevertheless, you might wonder, does he require to bring a log shemen for each one of the isronos? So multiply the log by 60. Or is it enough to bring that same basic log shemen for all 60 isronos? And that's the subject of machlokas, because according to Tanakama, nosim lo shishim log. You need a log for every isaron. He took upon himself, the maximum you could take upon yourself is 60 isaron. and he took the maximum. He made the highest bid, so to speak. And now he's going to have to multiply the log for each isaron. So if there's 60 isarons, he's going to need 60 log of shemen. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, on the other hand, says, "Afilu mincha shel shishim isaron ein la ela luga," meaning bring one log of shemen for all 60 isaron. Shenemar, and he quotes a pasuk from which he derives his conclusion: "Lemincha v'log shemen." So uh, the singular word mincha means whatever that mincha is made of. All you need is a log shemen. And the Gemara is going to analyze according to the Rabbanon, what do we do with that pasuk and that derivation? Okay, now we have other receptacles that were clay shares to measure liquids. And here we have to refer to a section, a parsha in Vayikra Yud Dalid. I'm sorry, scratch that. Vayikra Yud Dalid is Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that we just learned now, but rather to Bamidbar Perek Tesvav. All right, so I don't have the time now to take out a chumash, but the chumash speaks about the mincha for different kinds of karbanos. For example, if the carbon is an ayil, then the mincha is 1/3 of a hin of shemen. If, on the other hand, the mincha is of a keves, then it's 1/4 of a hin, which is equal to 3 lugin of shemen. If the mincha is meant to accompany a par, then it's 1/2 of a hin, or 6 login of shemen. So that's exactly what the Mishnah points out here, based on that pasuk in Bamidbar Perek Vav, that shisha lepar, arba le'ayil, ushlosha lekeves. Okay, now the Mishnah goes on to measure the shemen for the menorah. Shlosha umechza lemenorah. Now there were 7 lamps in the menorah, and each lamp required a chatzi log of shemen. So if you multiply a chatzi lug times 7, you end up with 3.5 lugin of shemen for menorah. Chatzi lug lechol ner. The word ner means the lamp, meaning the top part of the menorah, which held on to the wick and the oil. The Gemara says the following: Yosiv Rebbe v'Kokashele. Now we're going to see a series of issues, one after the other, that Rebbe raises, questions that he had, and answers that were given by various Tanoim that lived at that time, one of which is his own son. Okay, now we get to the first question of Rebbe, and that is Revius Loma Nimshecha. Every one of those liquid measuring utensils had the status of a kli shares. The principle that underlies the kli shares is that the kli shares is anointed with shemen hamishcha, and now anything that goes into the kli shares automatically becomes sanctified. And now Rebbe is very perplexed about the revius, because if we go back to our Mishnah, we'll see that the revius was either for the mayim l'mitzora or the shemen l'nazir, meaning that the mayim l'mitzora or the shemen l'nazir had to be put into this liquid measure in order to sanctify it. Says Rebbe, that doesn't make any sense, because I'm going to go through these two possibilities of Mitzorah or Nazir. I'm going to show you that they already had a previous sanctification.